So this story broke to us last night, and I'm just getting around to cover it now for you guys, because the Formula One drivers have called for an urgent meeting with the FIA over the penalty guidelines interpretations. Basically, they're not all too happy, or at least not overly clear on what the stewards are doing in terms of handing out penalties to the drivers. So let's have a look at what they're demanding and why exactly they are demanding this on the eve of the Las Vegas Grand Prix this weekend. Formula One drivers have expressed the need for an urgent meeting with the FIA to clarify the interpretation of racing guidelines. Carlos Sainz, a Grand Prix Drivers Association director and Williams driver, described the 10-second penalty given to McLaren's Oscar Piastri at the Brazilian Grand Prix as unacceptable. The penalty followed a collision involving Piastri and Mercedes' Kimi Antonelli, which resulted in Antonelli hitting Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Sainz stated the incident was not Piastri's fault and questioned the penalty's fairness, saying, quote, "Everyone who has raced know Piastri could not have avoided the accident. He got a 10-second penalty, which I do not understand," end quote. Sainz cited several incidents this year where penalties seemed unjustified, including 3 involving himself with Liam Lawson at the Dutch Grand Prix, Ollie Bearman in Italy, and Antonelli at the US GP, saying, quote, "I did not understand my penalty at Zandvoort. I did not understand why Ollie got a penalty in Monza after we collided. He did not deserve it. I also did not understand my penalty in Austin. Then there was the situation in Brazil." End quote. The drivers plan to meet FIA stewards at the Qatar Grand Prix to review a list of incidents requiring clarification. Sainz emphasised that the penalty system is not working properly, especially regarding incidents like Brazil's. The controversy centres on how stewards apply the FIA's driving standards guidelines issued earlier this year, known to most people as the menu. These guidelines were developed with driver input, but were not approved by the GDPA before publication. Drivers feel the rules are applied rigidly, lacking consideration for the nuances of wheel-to-wheel racing. Piastri's penalty was based on his failure to keep his front axle alongside Antonelli's wing mirror and lock in his brakes, which the stewards deemed to be losing control. Sainz challenged this interpretation though, saying, quote, "Stewards immediately interpret a lockup as a loss of control. A lockup does not always mean out of control. You can lock up and still hit the apex," end quote. And in fairness to his point there, this is turn 1 of Brazil. It's regular for these teams to lock up because of the camber there, and they still hit the apex. The lockup there is not really a problem like it would be, say, at turn 4 or whatever it is, the next braking zone. That would be a much more problematic lockup. Then you are probably out of control. George Russell, Mercedes driver and another GDPA director, supported this view, explaining that certain corners cause natural tyre lockups without the loss of control, saying, quote, "Every corner, circuit and incident is different. Guidelines must also allow for this," end quote. Russell also suggested the FIA consider appointing a permanent panel of stewards to ensure consistency. Now that is something I agree with without a doubt. You know, they should be professional stewards and they should be more consistent with who's actually there. Have 6 of them on rotation, because you only need 3 for each race weekend, but that's just my thoughts anyway. I know a lot of you guys agree with that though. Alex Albon, who is another GDPA director, described the FIA's approach as open-minded and collaborative, but uncertain if it will result in a clear rule set, saying, quote, "There is no us versus them attitude. We appreciate that as drivers. Whether it leads to clear rules, I am not sure," end quote. I mean, listen, I had this debate. I spoke about this and about this incident as well with Oscar Piastri. I spoke about it on the Grid Talk podcast. You guys know I'm on there every now and again. And, you know, my viewpoint is really that it's really difficult. It's Formula One. And like they say in the article as well, every rule and every scenario is different. Every track is different. You know, it's really hard to nail down consistency when there are so many different factors there. And I see the viewpoint, you know, if Piastri didn't get a penalty for that incident at the Brazilian Grand Prix, I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelid. As it was, he did get a penalty, and I understand why he got a penalty, but still, that is mainly because of the way the rules are, and you apply them literally. And if you do that, then yeah, that's why he got a penalty, but there's certain nuances there. But it's Formula One. Common sense should really prevail with these things. But if they use the whole common sense argument, right, if they do that, which a lot of people will want them to do that, then they're not sticking to the rules, are they? It's really difficult. It's really difficult. It's not very often I stick up for the stewards, but I do feel for this But I do feel for them on this one. I really do. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one. What needs to happen? Should the rules change for Formula 1? Are the driving standards rules not fit for purpose? I want to hear what you have to say down below in the comments section as always. Like, share, comment, subscribe, guys. If you want to see more like this, have a fantastic weekend. Let's hope for a great Grand Prix on Saturday night in Viva Las Vegas.